Okay, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari and my guest, at least the first of them this morning in studio, is Mr. Ademola Adegoke, Communications Consultant. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for inviting me and good morning, viewers at home.
Indeed, always our pleasure. We'll be looking into the collapse of the 21-story building. As you know, Lagos State government has put out a statement now. They're not finding it funny at all. No government would. And they have taken measures. Statement released by the Commissioner for Information and Strategy has said that apart from setting up their own internal probe, they're also going to have an independent probe made up of all professionals, builders, architects, surveyors, everybody concerned with buildings. And in addition, they've taken the quite, significant step of suspending the general manager of the building control agency of Lagos State. And that's a gentleman, Mr. Ikoyi. He was appointed only in February. But maybe one can sort of see it. We'll be getting an update from our reporter, Bimbo Agbebi, who is at the site, but that's in due course. Among other things, isn't this a bit like when sporting calamity befalls a club, the coach usually is on the line of fire, depending on the circumstances. Now, because there's a building control agency. I just checked out the gentleman who has been suspended indefinitely now. Whether that is the end of the road or not, it's one of the side issues, so to speak. Not really side, but you see, that seems to be the office in charge of preventing this kind of a thing happening. And the gentleman comes very highly qualified when you look at it. He's an architect himself. He's had experience up and down, the public, sector, environmental sector of Lagos State. And then this happened on his watch. It brings to mind the question, doesn't it, that, look, there doesn't appear to be a shortage of qualified personnel in the building trade. But the question is, are these spectacularly qualified, go ahead and say it, people, are they allowed to do their work? Or, turn the question around, what is it that prevents such experts from doing what they know is right? That's where the question of compromise comes about again.
Well, I think it's a known fact that in this part of the globe, we are so high on regulation, but very low on enforcement.
Okay.
We are very high on regulation. There are regulatory bodies all around. The issue is, to what extent do we enforce the regulation set up? And in the case of the man that has been suspended indefinitely now, yes, you gave a very good analogy of what happens in the football club. That when a team is not doing well, the coach is fired. The management may know that maybe there are one or two errant players that may be sabotaging, but as the man, on whose table the buck stops.
Exactly.
He needs to know what to do. And that is, yes, you mentioned the possibility of the system not allowing our professionals to do what they should do.
Yeah.
But the issue is this. Before now, yes, it was said that house was, that place was sealed. Then
before because the governor at the time the news had said that it was in the interest of preventing a disaster.
So then how who removed the seal?
Well, you know what I think. So thoroughly speculative on my part. It's one thing for the governor to give an order. He doesn't go around chasing it. There's a person, an institute, a unit that is responsible for enforcing that. Now, if this had not happened, clearly the governor's order, had been observed more in its ignorance, more in ignoring it. In the breach, than in the compliance. And, if this hadn't happened, they very well might have got away with it. But unfortunately, this tragedy happened, and then it comes to light that, by the way, wasn't that place supposed to have been sealed? Now you know, in our society, I don't think it's just Lagos. In our society, people find a way to get around the law, whether it is a traditional leader, whether it is a high chief, whether it is a highly placed influencer who can make a discreet phone call, and the regulations will be frozen, so to speak, temporarily. And that might be part of our problem.
For me, like the man that has been suspended, you know, he will have been able to get himself out of this whole, maybe you call it quagmire now. If there had been a report, you understand, that if by now the agency can avail us, you know, of a report that says this is what we have done. Maybe one order came from, you know, higher quarters, as it's usually said in the public service, that, oh, go and, you know, remove the seal or allow them to continue. But then they will have had their report that we did our job. Yeah, we did our job. This is, you know, this is why, you know, the place was, the seal was removed or whatever. So, but we are not seeing anything like that. We are not seeing anything like that from this agency.
If you look at the Commissioner of Information, Omotosho's statement, he had warned at the end of the statement that, look, people that go around breaching seals and that kind of thing, they will face the full wrath of the law, or words to that effect. So I'm deducing from that they are aware that these things do happen. It's just that this was quote-unquote bad luck. But beyond bad luck, this has cost lives. And the sooner our big men begin to understand that, look, no one life is more important than another. Whether it is a worker carrying pong-pong, I don't know what the English of pong-pong is. Headband. Whether it is that one, whether it is a royal, lives, there is no difference between lives before the law.
Yeah.
In the eyes of the law, a life is a life. And if people are doing these things that could potentially end up in the loss of lives, then I don't know, we have to find a way that they will buy into the idea that no one life is more important than another.
The irony of our situation is that those who know, the so-called elite, the enlightened minds, who know the implication of, you know, observing the law in the breach, they are the ones, you know, that flout it the more.
Well, things are reported to be a bit better in Lagos in terms of the regulations that exist and keeping to them. But there will be these occasional slipping between the cracks that has ended in a calamity such as this.
In a calamitous situation.
Well.